You ever get that gut feeling? You're doing everything right, showing up, being dependable, keeping things together, and yet, somehow, you're invisible? Maybe it's at work, maybe in your relationship, or even within your own family. You're present. You give. You support. And yet, no one seems to notice. Worse, they treat you like you're easily replaced. Like if you vanished tomorrow, everything would carry on just fine without you. Have you ever paused and asked yourself, why does it feel like the more I give, the more they forget what I bring? If so, you're not alone. This problem is more common than most of us admit. We're told that being good, being consistent, being reliable, that these are virtues. And they are. But in a world trained to chase novelty, to reward loudness over depth, these virtues can become invisible. The people around you, coworkers, friends, even loved ones, might start to assume that your stability is just background noise. And worse, that if it goes missing, nothing would change. That's where they're wrong. That's where the lesson hits hard. And here's the powerful truth most people never see coming. When you finally remove yourself, when you disappear, not out of spite but out of clarity, everything begins to fall apart. That's when the silence speaks. That's when your value echoes through the empty spaces you used to hold together. But let's be honest, this isn't just about them. It's also about you. Why do we keep trying to prove our worth to those who've already decided to overlook it? Why do we tie our identity to being needed by people who don't know how to appreciate presence until it's gone? Stoicism teaches us to detach from external validation and focus on our internal compass. But applying that to real-life relationships, Stoic relationships, requires painful clarity and courageous self-respect. Are you ready for that kind of shift? Because in this video, we're not just going to uncover how they misjudged your role, we're going to walk through the 6 exact stages that unfold the moment you disappear. This isn't theory. It's a reflection of reality. You'll see why your absence is often the loudest truth you'll ever speak. And by the end, you won't just understand your value better, you'll embody it. You'll learn to stop overextending and start reclaiming your peace. This is the part most people miss. This is the moment of power. And trust me, you won't want to miss what happens in part 6. 1. The comfort of familiarity. You know what's strange? How easy it is for people to forget what's always been there. Not because it stopped being valuable, not because it lost its strength, but because it was too consistent. Too reliable. Think about it. How often do we recognize the floor beneath our feet? The air we breathe? The quiet, constant hands that hold our lives together, day after day? Rarely. In a world conditioned to notice disruption over dedication, chaos over calm, most people get blinded by noise and overlook what's quietly saving them from it. You were that presence. That calm. The more easily they assumed you could be replaced. They didn't question how things held together, they just assumed they always would. This is the trap of familiarity. People mistake ease for simplicity, and simplicity for replaceability. But beneath the surface of ease is often an immense amount of inner labor. The late nights you didn't talk about. The emotional restraint you practiced, the times you swallowed your truth to keep the peace. That labor became part of the background. It blended into the rhythm of their lives. And like any good rhythm, they stopped noticing it. But let's ask something uncomfortable. Why did you allow that pattern? Why did you keep giving without asking to be seen? Why did you let your presence become an expectation instead of a gift? The truth is, we often participate in our own invisibility. Maybe we were taught that asking for acknowledgement was selfish. Maybe we internalized the belief that love meant silent sacrifice. Or maybe, and this is the hardest part, we feared that if we stopped performing, they'd stop caring. That if we didn't keep showing up without question, without complaint, they'd replace us without hesitation. This fear leads many of us to overfunction. To carry burdens others don't even realize exist. To become the glue, the gravity, the grounding force in dynamics where others are free to be inconsistent, reactive, or self-centered. And the irony? The more you compensate, the less they notice the imbalance. In their eyes, everything just works. They don't ask why. They don't wonder how. They just assume. An assumption is a form of blindness. Over time, their gratitude fades. Their recognition dulls. Your reliability is no longer a strength, it's an expectation. And expectations are dangerous when they're detached from respect. But here's the Stoic question: is your worth tied to whether they see it? No. Because Stoicism teaches us to root our value in what we control, our character, our choices, our clarity, not in how others react or fail to react. Yet that doesn't mean we let people walk over us. It means we hold our ground in silence, and when needed, we walk away in strength. Still, the comfort of familiarity isn't just theirs, it's also ours. You may have stayed because leaving felt unfamiliar. You may have poured into these relationships, these roles, because they gave you some sense of identity. But were you building a life, or just holding someone else's together? Were you living from purpose, or performing to avoid being abandoned? Continue blending into their comfort zone, or step back and let the absence speak for itself. And that silence, that absence, becomes the most honest mirror they've ever faced. Suddenly, the tasks don't complete themselves. The emotional buffering disappears. The steady energy that once absorbed everyone's chaos is gone. And they notice. But not immediately. But your essence, that made everything feel safer. You were the unsung rhythm. And without that rhythm, the entire song begins to unravel. This realization is uncomfortable for them. Because now, they're forced to reckon with their own imbalance. And here's the most revealing part: some people will finally understand. Others will blame the silence, never realizing their own role in causing it. That's not your responsibility. Your job is not to fix people's inability to value what matters. Your job is to stay rooted in who you are, in what you bring, and in your own growth. Because Stoic relationships are built not on performance, but on principle. On mutual recognition, not silent sacrifice. And when that balance is missing, when you're the only one maintaining the emotional equilibrium, the most powerful move you can make is to remove yourself, not out of revenge, but out of remembrance. Remembrance of your worth, your boundaries, your time. That is the beginning of transformation. That is when the familiarity of others no longer chains you, it frees you. Because now, 2. Quiet contributions go unnoticed. Have you ever stopped to consider how much effort goes into the unseen parts of your life, the emotional labor that slips under the radar, and the sacrifices you make that nobody acknowledges? These quiet contributions are the backbone of many relationships and systems, yet they remain invisible until they vanish. In many cases, people assume that because something is easy to overlook, it must be insignificant or replaceable. But is that truly the case? When you constantly give without fanfare, whether it's managing conflicts silently, absorbing emotional stress, why does it feel like your efforts are like drops of water in an ocean, necessary but never noticed? This question is essential to reflect upon, especially when navigating Stoic relationships that require both presence and boundaries. The effort behind the scenes demands immense patience and resilience, traits cultivated by Stoicism, which teaches us that our value is intrinsic and not dependent on external applause. Yet, the pain of being unseen or unappreciated is real, and it challenges our self-worth and motivation. How do you reconcile your internal value with the external neglect? Do you keep giving, hoping for eventual recognition, or do you guard your energy to preserve your peace? These are difficult choices that weigh heavily on anyone who's ever felt taken for granted. The silent work you perform, whether at home, at work, or in friendships, creates the conditions for others to thrive, yet it rarely earns direct acknowledgement. Often, people only notice the absence of these contributions when they are no longer available, but by then, the damage to relationships or productivity may have already taken root. This neglect is not accidental, It is a societal pattern that rewards the visible and the loud while minimizing the quiet, steady effort. Stoicism offers a pathway through this paradox. It encourages us to detach from the need for external validation while maintaining our commitment to integrity and self-respect. How do you practice this balance? It also requires recognizing that some contributions, while unseen, are profoundly transformative. The emotional energy you expend to soothe conflicts, the patience you exercise to listen without judgment, and the small, consistent acts of kindness all ripple outward in ways that aren't immediately visible. They build trust, foster safety, and create stability. Without these, the foundation crumbles. But what happens when you pull back? When the quiet force withdraws, those who once took it for granted begin to experience the void. Suddenly, the invisible work becomes glaringly obvious. Yet, the timing of this realization can be slow, stretching days, weeks, or even months. In that stretch of silence, frustration grows on both sides, yours, because your efforts have gone unrecognized, theirs, because the system they relied on begins to falter. This dynamic is both a test and an opportunity. It is a test of patience and resilience, and an opportunity for others to reflect on their assumptions and behaviors. What do they learn when the person they deemed replaceable disappears? It reveals not only how much you mattered but also how much others depended on your quiet contributions. It invites honest conversations about respect, boundaries, and the true nature of connection. This is the heart of Stoic Relationships, a commitment to authenticity over convenience, respect over entitlement. When others begin to grasp what they've lost, their regret may be genuine or superficial. But your role is not to manage their response, it is to maintain your integrity and continue growing. In stepping back, you create space for self-discovery and healing, for both yourself and them. This space also opens doors for new relationships that honor your value from the start. And remember, will you diminish your light, or will you let it shine quietly, regardless of recognition? These questions challenge us to cultivate resilience, self-respect, and clarity in the midst of invisibility. They urge us to embody strength without the need for external approval. The silence that follows your withdrawal speaks volumes. Not because of loud complaints or dramatic exits, but because absence is a profound teacher. It forces reflection and often transformation. In that silence, what do you hope others will learn? More importantly, what will you learn about yourself? Your quiet contributions are not insignificant. They are the roots of stability and love. It's time to honor them within yourself, whether or not others do. This realization is liberating, for it aligns with the essence of Stoicism, the pursuit of virtue and peace independent of circumstance. So, as you reflect on your unseen sacrifices, remember that your worth is not defined by the applause of the crowd but by the integrity of your actions and the steadiness of your character. If this perspective resonates with you, if you recognize the pain and power in these quiet contributions, like and comment, 1, below to let me know you're with me on this journey. With strength and wisdom, even when the world overlooks what matters most. 3. The subtle decline after departure. When you disappear, the shift doesn't happen overnight. It unfolds like a slow, almost imperceptible decay. What once seemed steady begins to wobble, but at first, it's easy for everyone to deny anything has changed. The day-to-day still ticks forward, but underneath, the cracks start to spread. People don't immediately connect these changes to your absence. They miss the invisible hands that smoothed rough edges, the quiet strength that absorbed tension and created calm. This slow unraveling is a silent storm, a consequence of what happens when the force holding everything together no longer exists. You might wonder why such a fundamental shift can be so difficult for others to see at first. It's the backdrop, not the spotlight. So when it's gone, we instinctively try to carry on, pretending that things are fine. But beneath that surface, the dynamics have changed. Small details begin to fall through the cracks, missed deadlines, forgotten commitments, overlooked emotions. The smooth operation of relationships or teams falters because the emotional and logistical glue is missing. This decline can manifest as increased stress, misunderstandings. People often blame these issues on external pressures or bad timing instead of recognizing the root cause, the absence of the person who once held things together. This denial is understandable. Accepting that someone was essential, and that their absence reveals how fragile the system really was, is uncomfortable. It challenges pride and forces difficult questions about dependence and responsibility. How much did they rely on you without realizing it? How much did they take your presence for granted? This stage is a quiet reckoning, a tension between what was invisible and what becomes impossible to ignore. It reveals how much emotional labor you performed, how much unseen effort you invested to keep peace and order. The breakdown isn't a reflection of your failure to stay, it's evidence of how valuable you were. But the people left behind might not immediately understand this. They may respond with frustration or denial, unwilling to confront their own part in the imbalance. This makes it harder for them to repair the damage or to appreciate the lessons your departure offers. In some cases, they scramble to fill the gap, reaching out for quick fixes or superficial solutions that don't address the deeper issues. They might replace your role with someone else but fail to grasp the unique qualities you brought. This is a crucial insight for anyone practicing Stoicism or navigating Stoic relationships. No one is truly replaceable because no one can replicate the exact combination of presence, energy, and commitment you offer. This subtle decline is a lesson in humility for those who remain, a call to awaken to the realities of their dependencies and the cost of taking others for granted. For you, witnessing this decline can evoke mixed emotions: validation that your presence was meaningful, frustration at the ignorance or denial of those who once dismissed you. It teaches us to accept what we cannot control and to find peace in our own virtue and choices. The slow unraveling is a natural consequence of imbalance. But it also invites growth, for everyone involved. It encourages those left behind to develop self-awareness and accountability. And it prompts you to reflect on what kind of presence you want to cultivate moving forward. Will you return under different terms? Or will you use this absence as a boundary that protects your peace and values? The subtle decline also underscores the importance of clarity and communication in relationships. Had those unseen contributions been recognized and honored, the dynamic might have shifted toward mutual respect and shared responsibility. Instead, or merely assuming that someone else will hold the balance, it's a call to greater presence and mindfulness, both in giving and receiving support. The unraveling period is difficult but also transformative. It strips away complacency and forces confrontation with uncomfortable truths. It can lead to deeper understanding and, ultimately, to more authentic connections if the lessons are learned. Yet, the timing and outcomes vary. Some people never fully grasp what was lost until it's too late. It is a boundary, a statement, and a catalyst for reflection. It's a testament to your strength and a necessary step in reclaiming your peace. How do you reconcile the pain of being missed only after you're gone? How do you find balance between detachment and care, between withdrawing and staying connected? These are the questions that the slow decline compels us to explore. Ultimately, the unraveling exposes the truth that presence is a gift, not an entitlement. It's a turning point that invites everyone to reassess what truly matters, to appreciate what was invisible, and to cultivate a new kind of respect grounded in awareness rather than assumption. The wisdom of Stoicism guides us here, reminding us to accept reality as it is, to detach from outcomes beyond our control, and to act with virtue and courage. As the structure wavers without you, remember that your absence is a powerful message, one that demands reflection, growth, and transformation. This is the price of being irreplaceable, and the path to becoming indispensable not through obligation, but through genuine respect and mutual care. 4. The sudden realization. Have you ever noticed how people often live in denial until reality hits them so hard that it becomes impossible to ignore? That moment, when they finally wake up to the truth, feels like a thunderclap in the silence you left behind. The sudden realization of your absence is a powerful, often jarring experience for those who once thought you replaceable. It's the moment when all their assumptions crumble, and the value you held, quietly and steadfastly, bursts into undeniable clarity. This realization is not just about noticing you're gone. It's about understanding how deeply intertwined you were with the stability and success of everything around them. The people who once overlooked your contributions are suddenly confronted with the undeniable fact: the space you occupied was unique, irreplaceable, and essential. They begin to see the patterns they missed, the emotional labor you carried, the constant support you provided, the steady presence that kept chaos at bay. But why does this awakening often come so late? Why do people frequently only appreciate what they have after it's gone? This tendency speaks to a broader human flaw that Stoicism warns us about: attachment to comfort and resistance to change. Familiarity breeds complacency. When things run smoothly, we assume they'll continue without effort. We fail to acknowledge the invisible forces that sustain our comfort until those forces disappear. This blind spot leads to the painful surprise of sudden loss and the scramble to understand its magnitude. The sudden realization can provoke a complex mix of emotions in those left behind: regret, guilt, confusion, even desperation. They may ask themselves, "How did we not see this? How did we take it for granted? What do we do now?" These questions expose the gap between perception and reality, between assumption and truth. For you, witnessing this sudden awareness can bring mixed feelings. On one hand, there's the frustration of enduring invisibility for so long and the question of whether this recognition will lead to meaningful change or remain a fleeting moment of regret. Herein lies the profound lesson of Stoicism: to maintain equanimity regardless of others' perceptions, to find peace within yourself, and to hold your value independently of external validation. The sudden realization also triggers a crucial turning point in Stoic relationships. When others begin to recognize your importance, they face a choice: will they honor and respect you moving forward? Or will they revert to old patterns once your absence fades into a new status quo? This moment offers an opportunity for transformation, for deeper understanding, mutual respect, and recalibrated boundaries. But such change requires humility and willingness to grow, qualities not everyone is ready to embrace. Often, the wake-up call provokes action, apologies, attempts to make amends, or renewed efforts to engage and appreciate. Yet, these efforts must be authentic and sustained, not mere reactions to discomfort. Otherwise, the cycle of neglect and disappearance repeats itself, eroding trust and stability further. This dynamic invites reflection on the nature of connection and respect. True respect is not conditional on presence or performance. It is rooted in recognizing inherent worth and honoring the roles each person plays. Relationships become fragile and superficial, vulnerable to breakdown when the unexpected happens. The sudden realization serves as a powerful mirror reflecting how we value others, and how we hope to be valued ourselves. It challenges us to cultivate awareness and appreciation in the present, rather than waiting for absence to teach these lessons. It's a call to be more mindful and grateful, to speak up and set boundaries before invisibility becomes the only way to be heard. For those practicing Stoicism, this moment reinforces the importance of living with intention and clarity, detaching from others' judgments while remaining engaged in authentic relationships. It encourages us to embody our worth consistently, not as a reaction to neglect, but as a foundation of inner strength. Have you experienced this sudden realization in your own life? How did it change your perspective? Did it lead to new boundaries, clearer communication, or deeper self-respect? Neither shrinking to soothe their guilt nor inflating to punish their neglect. Instead, you embody calm confidence and resilience, qualities that inspire respect and invite healthy connection. This is not about revenge, it is about revelation. It's the clarity that comes from knowing your worth and refusing to settle for anything less than genuine appreciation. If this message resonates with you, if you're ready to embrace your power and reclaim your peace, please like this video and comment number 1 below to show your support. Don't forget to subscribe so we can continue exploring how Stoicism and Stoic relationships empower us to live authentically, with strength and wisdom, even in the face of neglect. Together, we'll learn how to turn absence into insight, invisibility into influence, and silence into strength. 5. Reflection and regret. Reflection often arrives uninvited and lingers longer than we expect, especially when it carries the heavy weight of regret. When those who once thought you replaceable finally face your absence. A human way of acknowledging that something valuable was lost, sometimes irreparably. But this emotional state, while painful, can also become a profound teacher if approached with the mindset of Stoicism. The journey through reflection and regret is not about blaming yourself for their blindness or condemning them for their neglect. Instead, it's about understanding the complex dynamics of human connection and the limitations that often cloud our awareness. Why do people wait until it's too late to appreciate what they had? These questions challenge us to think deeply about the nature of appreciation, gratitude, and timing. Regret exposes a failure to act, not necessarily a failure to care, but a failure to fully see. And yet, true insight emerges when this regret is paired with responsibility and growth rather than denial or defensiveness. The process of reflection may reveal uncomfortable truths, patterns of neglect, assumptions of permanence, and the dangers of taking relationships for granted. It invites a confrontation with the ways people project their own fears and insecurities onto others, demanding constant availability without reciprocity. For those practicing Stoicism, this moment calls for measured acceptance and compassion. We recognize that human nature is flawed and that our value cannot depend on others' flawed perceptions. We also understand that regret, while natural, can become corrosive if it leads to resentment or self-pity. Instead, Stoicism teaches us to harness regret as a catalyst for change, both in how we relate to others and how we protect our own boundaries. Or will we use it to sharpen our insight and strengthen our resolve? The answer shapes not only how we heal but how we approach future relationships and challenges. This stage often brings clarity about what kind of presence you truly want to embody. Do you wish to be seen only in moments of absence, or consistently respected and valued? Do you seek relationships that appreciate your contributions, or ones that assume and exploit them? These are essential questions that shape your personal growth and emotional well-being. Regret also forces a reckoning with forgiveness, both for others and for yourself. Forgiving those who overlooked you is not about excusing their behavior but about freeing yourself from the burden of bitterness. Forgiving yourself means releasing the guilt of past complacency or misplaced trust and embracing a commitment to live more intentionally. These acts of forgiveness align deeply with Stoicism, which emphasizes control over one's own mind and emotions. The power to choose how we respond to hurt and neglect is central to cultivating resilience and peace. The reflection on what was lost and why it was lost encourages a more profound appreciation for genuine connection. This insight inspires a shift away from people-pleasing or self-sacrifice toward balanced engagement, where giving and receiving are reciprocal and nourishing. It also warns against the dangers of self-erasure, reminding us that invisibility is not a virtue when it comes at the cost of our own identity and well-being. The regret experienced by others can sometimes open the door to reconciliation and rebuilding. However, rebuilding requires more than regret. It requires sustained effort, accountability. This possibility underscores the importance of boundaries and self-respect as forms of protection and empowerment. Reflection and regret, while uncomfortable, can become fertile ground for personal empowerment. They invite you to step into a stronger version of yourself, one who knows their worth, demands respect, and refuses to be invisible. This transformation is not about bitterness or revenge. It is about wisdom and self-love. It is about reclaiming your narrative and choosing relationships that honor your true value. How do you integrate these lessons into your life? How do you balance openness with discernment, generosity with boundaries? These are ongoing questions that require patience and courage. But the path of Stoicism provides the tools to navigate them with grace, helping you build a life where your contributions are neither overlooked nor taken for granted. As you reflect on the regrets of others and your own journey, remember that growth often comes from discomfort. The pain of being missed only after you're gone can fuel your resolve to live authentically and intentionally. It can inspire you to cultivate stoic relationships where presence is celebrated and absence is never taken lightly. This reflection is a powerful step toward healing, wisdom, and true connection, a step that leads not just to being recognized but to being respected, valued, and truly seen. 6. Your growth in the silence. In the silence left behind, after the noise of absence has settled, there lies a profound opportunity, your growth. When they thought you were replaceable and you chose to disappear. For rediscovering your essence unencumbered by the weight of expectation or the drain of invisibility. Growth in this silence is not about revenge or proving others wrong. It is about reclaiming your own life, your own peace, and your own value from a place of strength and clarity. Many ask, how do you grow when you feel unseen? How do you build your worth when it seems the world has forgotten you? These are critical questions that touch on the core of Stoicism and Stoic relationships. The answer lies in turning inward and focusing on what you can control, your thoughts, your actions, your mindset, rather than on the fickle perceptions of others. Stoicism teaches that true power comes from within, from living in accordance with virtue and reason, regardless of external circumstances. This means that your growth is an act of reclaiming agency, an intentional cultivation of resilience and wisdom. When the external world is silent, you have the chance to listen more deeply to your inner voice. You can explore your values, your desires, and your boundaries without distraction or compromise. In this solitude, you learn to appreciate your own company and develop a sense of self that is independent of validation or approval. The silence also offers space to heal from the exhaustion of invisibility and overextension. When you are always giving, always supporting, and always accommodating, it's easy to lose track of your own needs and limits. Now, freed from the expectation to perform for others, you can nurture yourself with patience and compassion. This healing process is essential because growth without healing is incomplete and unsustainable. Healing allows you to release past resentments and fears, such as journaling to examine your thoughts, meditating to cultivate mindfulness, and setting boundaries that protect your time and energy. It means saying no to relationships and situations that diminish your worth, and yes to those that honor and uplift you. You might find that in this silence, new opportunities arise, relationships deepen, new connections form, and your capacity for empathy and understanding expands. The wisdom you gain from stepping back can transform not only how you relate to others but also how you navigate challenges and setbacks. The absence that once felt like loss becomes a source of strength. You realize that being replaceable was never the truth. Your unique presence, perspective, and energy are gifts that no one else can replicate. This recognition is a cornerstone of your growth, a beacon guiding you toward a life where your worth is defined by your own standards, not by others' fleeting attention. It's important to remember that growth in silence is a journey, not a destination. It requires patience and perseverance. Embracing these moments with curiosity rather than judgment deepens your resilience and self-knowledge. As you grow, you become a model of strength and wisdom for others. Your example invites those around you to reconsider their assumptions about presence and value. It challenges the culture of taking people for granted and fosters a more conscious and respectful way of relating. This is the essence of Stoic relationships. Your growth in the silence also rewires your relationship with absence itself. What once felt like loss now becomes a space for renewal and clarity. You learn that absence is not emptiness but a powerful teacher, revealing what truly matters and guiding you to what deserves your attention and energy. This understanding liberates you from the fear of being unseen or unappreciated. You stand firmly in the knowledge that your value is inherent and your presence, when given, is a conscious gift, not an obligation. How will you continue this growth? What habits, thoughts, and choices will support your journey toward a more grounded and fulfilled self? If you've found strength or insight in this message, please like the video and comment, number 1, to share your support. Don't forget to subscribe so we can continue exploring the power of Stoicism and Stoic relationships together, helping you grow with resilience, wisdom, and authenticity. Thank you for being here on this journey. May your path forward be filled with clarity, strength, and peace. In closing, consider this: you were never truly replaceable. The illusion of replaceability is just that, an illusion born from ignorance, complacency, and the human tendency to take what is reliable for granted. It is easy to overlook the steady presence, the quiet strength, and the unseen labor that forms the foundation of any relationship, group, or community. But when you disappear, that illusion shatters. What follows is not merely absence, it is a powerful revelation. The spaces you once filled begin to echo with the truth of your importance. This echo is loud and unmistakable, even if it comes wrapped in silence. The transformation you undergo when you remove yourself from the equation is profound. It forces others to confront their assumptions and reassess what they value in those they call upon, depend on, or love. It compels a deeper understanding of how presence and absence are intertwined, and how taking someone for granted is a dangerous gamble that risks losing something irreplaceable. Throughout this process, you have the opportunity to redefine your worth on your own terms, unbound by the fleeting opinions and neglect of others. Stoicism teaches us that our value is not contingent on external recognition but is rooted in virtue, character, and the integrity with which we live our lives. This is a liberating truth, for it frees us from the exhausting need to prove ourselves or to beg for acknowledgement. It also empowers us to set firm boundaries and to walk away when our presence is undervalued. Walking away is not an act of defeat or bitterness, it is an act of courage, self-respect, and wisdom. It is a declaration that your time and energy are precious, and that you will not expend them where they are squandered or dismissed. This choice is an essential step toward living authentically and with peace. The journey from being unseen to being missed reveals much about human nature and relationships. It highlights the human tendency to cling to comfort and familiarity while ignoring the very forces that make that comfort possible. It shows how easily we become blind to the quiet contributions of those around us, and how painful it is to realize what we have lost only after it is gone. Yet, this journey is not solely about others, it is equally about yourself. It challenges you to examine why you allowed yourself to become invisible in the first place, to question the patterns of overgiving and silent sacrifice, and to learn how to protect your value moving forward. The silence that follows your disappearance is not emptiness but an invitation to grow, to heal, and to reclaim your power. It is in this silence that your true strength is forged. Such relationships do not take your contributions for granted, nor do they demand that you sacrifice your peace for their convenience. Instead, they support your growth and encourage your authenticity. Embracing this perspective helps you avoid the trap of tying your self-worth to others' perceptions or expectations. It empowers you to live with intention and clarity, focused on what truly matters. The lessons of Stoicism guide you to remain steady amid the fluctuations of human attention, to find peace in your own virtue, and to approach relationships with both openness and discernment. Your disappearance is not the end but a powerful beginning. It is the moment when you step fully into your value, unshaken by neglect and unapologetic in your self-respect. It invites you to build a life where your presence is a gift freely given, not a resource exploited. As this video closes, carry forward the awareness that you are indispensable, not because you demand it, but because of who you are and what you bring to the world. May this message inspire you to live boldly and wisely, to hold your boundaries firmly, and to nurture connections that honor the irreplaceable person you are. Thank you for journeying through these reflections on presence, absence, and worth. May your path be illuminated by clarity, courage, and peace.